Hi guys, welcome back to Pop Culture Down Under, and thank you for joining me for our first Omnibus haul video. So this is one of my only hauls for the year so far. It's my July haul. Two of the books are brand new. I got them from Book Depository, which is one of the better sellers for Australian buyers. And the other one I got down the bottom, the Marvel Omnibus, I got from a second-hand seller in my local area, which again, another fantastic way to pick up books in Australia where we don't have the price advantage that some of our friends in the US do. So we've got two really thick DC Vertigo Omnibus, and we've got one smaller Marvel Omnibus. So let's dive in and have a look at each one. I'm not going to do an overview as such for each, but we'll have a quick look at the covers, under the dust jacket, have a bit of a flip through, but definitely not, I won't spend as much time on each volume as I would if I was doing an overview video for each. So let's jump in and have a look. Alright, so let's start by taking a look at the Hellblazer by Garth Ennis Omnibus. It's a really thick Omni, one of the thickest I've got. Its page count's around 1,300 pages. As we can see, we've got fantastic artwork from Glenn Fabry on the front cover of the dust jacket. Ignore the little scratch mine got in shipping. And we can see when we take a closer look that we are now getting our DC Black Label emblem rather than Vertigo, which this normally would have been published under. Since last year, the DC finally folded up the Vertigo imprint, and all of those titles that were Vertigo are now relabeled as Black Label. So one of those is Hellblazer by Garth Ennis, and I used to have all of the Hellblazer trades, but I sold them all because this is my favorite part of the Hellblazer run. And we can see that again, it's by Garth Ennis when we look on the spine there. And yeah, it's definitely my favorite part of the Hellblazer run from the 90s, 2000s. It's fantastic stuff. It's got a lot of artwork by Steve Dillon, as well as Ennis's writing. And for me, it really shows where he cut his teeth before he then got into Preacher, which is my favorite series of all time. So when we take a look on the back of the dust jacket, we've got some more Glenn Fabry artwork of John Constantine himself. We have a big overview of the series, and we've also got some examples of other work by Ennis down here, and then we've got some of the names of the other people on art, including Steve Dillon. Inside this book, we're collecting most of the Ennis run, so all of the Ennis run, sorry, which runs from Hellblazer 41 to 50, 52 to 83, 129 to 135, as well as the Hellblazer Special 1. So let's have a quick look underneath the dust jacket, where we're treated to more Glenn Fabry artwork, which is different to what's on the dust jacket, which is always a bonus because often they just reprint dust jacket art on the hardcover itself. So I'm really happy to see that we've got some different artwork. So let's have a look at the front. The spine is exactly the same as the dust jacket, and let's have a look at the back there, okay? Glenn Fabry again worked with Ennis throughout Preacher, so this is one of their earlier collaborations. Now let's have a quick look inside the book itself. I have already opened this the correct way, so we're going to have a quick flip through. It's a really beautifully constructed book. It's got all the covers inside. We get a contents page, which is fantastic, as DC don't always give us those. And then we jump in, we've got an introduction by Stuart Moore, and that's it, we get straight into the issues. Now, I'm going to flip through pretty quickly. The art is very much in the style of other Vertigo titles you would have read, okay? Looks a lot like what you would see from that era. And as we go through the book, it doesn't like to lay open, it tends to want to shut. It has quite stiff binding, so it takes a good few hundred pages or so before the book will want to lay open. So we're still not quite there yet. Alright, and now it lays flat, and we can see that we're into the Steve Dillon artwork here. So let's keep going through. Steve Dillon does a good chunk of this, and the colouring and everything is very similar to what you would see in Preacher. Get some awesome appearances from Swamp Thing, I don't want to spoil that. And I'm not going to talk about the story. I have read all of this before. It is stunning. It's an amazing run on Constantine, one of the better DC Dark characters that we have. Looking at the gutter loss, we get a little bit of gutter loss, but we don't really get big double page superhero spreads or anything like that in this book. So really, that little bit of gutter loss there in the middle isn't a huge issue. It's not going to stop you from being able to see each panel, and it's not going to stop you from reading any of the speech bubbles or anything like that. Alright, and as we flip through, we get to the later run that Ennis did. He went away for a while and then came back and did another story arc later in the character's history. And let's get up towards our extras, which there are not many of, okay? Really, in our extras, we're just getting some covers, but they're fantastic Glenn Fabry covers, so the more the better. And we also get some biographies of the creators, and that's it, okay? For my money, I'm happy to make sure that I get the maximum amount of story in an omnibus, rather than just simply lots of extras at the back. I rather get story. I feel like I get more bang for my buck. And considering this is an omnibus that's got a $150 US cover price, I'm certainly happy that for most of that, I'm getting story, okay? Getting this in Australia, you're probably going to be looking at around about 185 minimum. 200 seems to be the asking price for most places for these books now. So would I say this is worth your money? Absolutely yes. Get it as cheap as you can, but don't wait, get it. It's an A-grade run, okay? Our next book is the Why the Last Man Omnibus, written by Brian K. Vaughan, with art by P. Aguirre and a few other different creators as well. This one comes with a fantastic matte finish dust jacket, where the title and the character picture here are embossed in gloss. You can't really see it on the camera, but in person, it's a really, really great effect. Now, as I turn it over, we can see our spine. It's got the title, creators' names. This book came out a little bit before the Preacher Omnibus, I'm going to say towards the end of last year, when DC was still using this DC Vertigo label on their omnibus. As far as shelf continuity goes, it's a little bit irritating because a lot of my older Vertigo Omnibus really just say Vertigo. Then I've got a couple that's got this DC Vertigo label, and then now I'm getting ones with DC Black label. So DC's infamous for their lack of trade dress continuity, and they definitely continue that trend here. All right, looking at the back, we can see we've got $150 US cover price. So again, you're probably looking at about $180 to $200 for this book brand new. Is it worth it? Absolutely, and I'm going to show you why in a second. Why the Last Man? Looking at the back here, we've got the matte dust jacket continuing with our gloss finished writing and picture up the top here. And let's take off the the jacket and have a look underneath. So we can see that we've got printed cover boards. We can see that we've got our Yorick on the front cover with his monkey ampersand, and on the back, on the side, the spine is pretty much the same as on the dust jacket. And then on the back cover, it's been a while since I've read this. I cannot remember her name. I know she's one of the bodyguard who hangs around with Yorick throughout the adventure. I'm really keen to dive back into this soon. And let's turn it over and we can open it up. I've been through and opened this book properly already. We can see we've got credit given to our creators. We've got a contents page, just like in the Hellblazer Omni, and then we dive straight in, okay? This omnibus collects the entire series, 60 issues, okay? So the pages are slightly thinner than the Hellblazer Omnibus, which is why it looks about the same width, but it does contain about 100, 200 more pages than Hellblazer. Now, the art is pretty consistent throughout this entire run. It's not the world's best art, but as a Vertigo title, that doesn't really matter so much. The art gets the job done, and the story is fantastic. Now, again, it's tight binding, okay? Takes a long time before the book wants to lie flat. So we're about 400 pages in, and now it will start to lay flat on the table. So glossy pages, both of these books have got gloss paper. DC haven't seemed to carry their new matte paper over into the Omnibus, which from my opinion is a good thing. So once we're in this book, the binding's fine. Similar to the Hellblazer Omnibus, you're not going to really lose too much of the story with the little bit of gutter loss that we have. Both of those books are sewn binding with some glue as well, which is why they're that little bit tight. But really, I don't think it impacts on the reading experience at all. As we flip through, this book does have a few more extras than Hellblazer, though it's not big on the extras front, as it's already got 60 issues inside it. So let's have a look. Our extras is really just a sketchbook by our the artist Pia Guerra, showing her character designs and some key designs that she used for some key moments in the story. And then again at the back we get our creator summaries, and that's it. So DC, pretty frugal with the extras, but big on the story. So in this book, again, like Hellblazer, you're definitely getting your bang for your buck. Even if you have to pay Aussie prices, I would say it's worth it. And I would give it a big recommend. Alright, and here's our last book in the haul, the Invincible Iron Man Omnibus, written by Kurt Busiek, with most of the art done by Sean Chen. I've never read this material before. It falls in the Heroes Reborn category and comes after the it falls in the Heroes Return category and comes after Heroes Reborn. So this is sort of rebooting Iron Man in the new Marvel Universe following Heroes Reborn, bringing him back in with all of the other characters that we know and love. Now, I've never read this, as I said. Sean Chen's artwork is a really big draw for me. I love the work that he did on Wolverine in the early 2000s. So ever since then, I've always been keeping an eye out for his work. I've wanted this omnibus for a long time. It's been out for a really long time, but brand new, it's always been really expensive. It's not a particularly thick book, and it's got $125 cover price. So I could never justify spending, say, 150 Australian dollars on it. But finding it for a second-hand price, I was definitely ready to jump in and grab it. Front cover we can see is done by Sean Chen. We've got Iron Man, we've got Tony and some of the other supporting characters. Looks great. It's really a good indication of the type of art that you're going to see page to page as well. It's not just a cover, the art will look like that. Looking at the spine, again, we've got the Invincible Iron Man, some more Sean Chen artwork, and then on the back, we've got all of the covers of the individual issues listed inside this omnibus. We've got our $125 cover price, and we have down the bottom here as well, all of the numbers of the issues contained in the book. So let's take off the dust jacket. And we can see we've got nice printed cover boards. The front is pretty much the same as the dust jacket, same with the spine, and then the back. we've got some more artwork. We can see Iron Man flying in there with a sort of symbol in the background. As I said, I haven't read it. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure I'll find out when I read it in the near future. So, opening it up, we've got Invincible Iron Man by Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen. We've also got a lot of other pencilers involved as well, and a lot of other writers. Some notable names there, like Dan Jurgens, Mark Waid, Chris Claremont, and on the penciler side, Patrick Zircher's been working on Action Comics Rebirth. We've got Andy Kubert, George Perez, Salvador LaRocca, John Romita Jr., and lots of other artists and inkers, and many people involved in the creation of the stories inside this book. So let's dive right in, and we've got our Heroes Return trade dress here, as that's what this story was a part of. And we can see straight away, fantastic Sean Chen artwork, beautiful double page spread, Iron Man looking fantastic. I think it's a great costume design as well. So this issue looks pretty similar to the Thor Heroes Return first issue as well. Just lots of action, Iron Man taking on some bad guys with some fantastic artwork. And it wouldn't be Iron Man without Tony Stark doing some schmoozing as well. So let's keep going through nice and quick. Again, this is obviously pretty different sort of stuff to what I was looking at with these Omnibus. We've got our big double page spreads. Artwork is a bit more of a focus, and being a Marvel Omnibus, there's no gutter loss really. It jumps straight in, it's got sewn binding, and it's really the perfect format for looking at these type of stories. The paper is high gloss, you can see the glare from the sun, and it looks fantastic. So even if I don't know the quality of the story, I've not heard anything bad about it, but I haven't heard anything particularly amazing either. But even if it's not amazing, I think the art's good enough that I'll enjoy a read through, and I do like me some 90s nonsense. So overall, looking really good. Let's jump up the back now and see if we can see some back matter. You can see Miss Marvel here before she was Captain Marvel. Keep going. Still in the story, so not too much back matter. Oh, we've found it now. Alright, so we've got some extra covers up the back here. Got an article out of Wizard. We've got some sketches by Sean Chen, which look fantastic. And those are coloured. Well, more of his artwork, the better. And that's about it. So not a whole heap of back matter, certainly not as much as in some Marvel Omnibus, but definitely not a bad selection. And again, if you can get this for second-hand prices instead of 150, 160 AUD, it's definitely worth it, I think, even just for that beautiful artwork. Alright guys, and that brings us to an end of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at my little Omnibus haul here. Definitely small by US standards, but it's a pretty big chunk of change in Australian dollars. So I won't be getting a haul for a little while, but the next haul I will be getting is really, really big, and it's gonna have some whales in it as well. So I'll make sure I post that up as soon as I get it, and thanks for watching. See you later.